All right, my brother Jay, how
Yo,
are you?
I'm great, man. How you?
Oh man, excited, man. We excited for everyone to join this platform and welcome to the A and J Real Talk with Men.
Man, it's about time we get this started, man. Cause
Oh, it's
is it?
been a long time.
Yeah,
It's
man.
been a long time.
We've been talking about it
But it,
for a minute.
hey, we've been talking about it for a
Yeah,
minute, but we said 2025, we putting in action. We're not just talking about what we're doing, we doing it.
that's
So
it. That's it.
we here.
We here. We here.
For one, yeah. So what we talking about tonight, bro?
Well, first off, I think you wanted to open up.
Oh yeah, definitely, brother. Let me get us opened up in prayer real quick.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Dear Father, just thank you so much for this moment. Thank you for bringing us together to praise you, but not only to praise you, to talk about things that this world needs to hear about, things as men that are on our mind that we definitely need your encouragement, your influencing to make sure that, what we're going through, our trials and tribulations, we're all delivered from and we learn a lesson from. But most importantly, that we're not in this alone, can do this together, and we can be here to testify and to be here for one another. So, Lord, just thank you again for this day. Thank you for this time. Thank you for all you are and all you do. Thank you, Lord. Amen.
And amen. All right, look, man. Let's jump into it because I mean we was gonna talk about boundaries and
Boundaries.
yeah. So I mean, I just wanted to go ahead and jump into it, man, because I think there's a lot there's a lot to be said about boundaries and I notice like a lot of times when I'm talking with people, a big question. I mean, there's so many questions about boundaries, but the main question is like, how do you even start to enforce boundaries? But
Yeah.
I think starting with boundaries is just too broad because there's so many different boundaries, right? So many different like you got relationships, you got workplace, you got different types of boundaries. So I guess when to start, what I mean, as we even talking about boundaries, like I always like to clarify what we're talking about. So what are we talking about when we say boundaries?
Well, boundaries. Well, it's kind of like the I would say the non-negotiables that we have as far as how we conduct, how we engage, how we treat each other. Boundaries are just kind of like for lack of a better term, hey, if you do this, we got an issue. And if you don't do this, we're good to go. But more so, it's just a safety. It's a safety for us to say this is what we'll tolerate and this is what we won't tolerate. um, the biggest thing about it is making sure that they're enforced, I want to say. So to me, boundaries are something that are necessary, not just, I mean, in relationships, but in everyday life. Just how you want to be treated, and even how you're willing to treat others. Boundaries kind of set the tone, set the foundation for what you'll tolerate and what you won't.
Essentially it's the deal breakers. It's the things that you're like, all right, this is
Yeah, deal breakers. Deal breakers. Well, if you enforce them, you know what I mean. But that's what they should be. They should be deal breakers. And hey, listen, if I've told you this is what I don't like, and you continue to do this, if you step across that line, especially for the habitual line steppers, got to go.
right, right.
Got to go.
Right. Okay. So these are the things that are deal breakers. Have you ever like had a boundary first? Okay. So yeah, have you ever had a boundary that was like hard to set?
Absolutely, brother. Man, listen, my my whole first part of my life has been just not setting boundaries, just going with the flow.
Yeah.
That comes from childhood. We can get into that, but just to give you a little bit about me, I went through a lot of childhood trauma, and I went through a lot of abandonment growing up as a child. So because of that, I was always a people pleaser. So when you were a people pleaser, you don't set boundaries. You just accept what comes because you're trying to, fit in, or you're trying to make sure that others are happy with you, or getting validation from other people. That kind of sets who you are. That's where you get your identity from. So you don't set boundaries in that. I had to find my identity, through a higher power, through Christ, and that was how I was able to find my purpose. But not just that, realize that my validation didn't come from others; it came from God. And God's like, look, you need to start setting boundaries with people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be easy. You haven't done it before, but it's necessary, and something it's not easy to do, bruh, because you don't want to upset people. You want, for the most part, I mean, there are people like that, but for the most part, when you've been a people pleaser and you've been, someone trying to fit in, to start setting boundaries is the total opposite of the behavior that you've always been doing. However, when you don't have boundaries, people will do whatever and won't respect anything that you say or do. And that's how I've got a lot of examples, but that was pretty much part of my whole life up until I surrendered. So when it comes to boundaries, it's a learning process, but it's a great process, and I'm being taught by the ultimate teacher on how to do that. So it's something that I'm definitely doing now, and it's interesting because you start to lose a lot of people that you thought would be along for the ride. You know what I mean? When you start setting boundaries, and you realize that some boundaries people are going to try you on, and if you've already set that boundary, then unfortunately if those people can't respect it, then they kind of got to go, regardless of what you thought your relationship was with them. So that's been my experience with boundaries so far.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned like you was like, it was hard to set because of trauma.
Yeah, yeah,
I find like a lot of times people have issues with boundaries because of, like you said, wanting to please people. And when you get in a place where you're putting other people in front of you, other people first, then it allows you or makes you not be able to hold on to any boundaries because you're going to put that person first. And so if you're putting that person first, then if that person disrespects you, if that person does whatever and starts to go over those boundaries, if you're putting them first, then you just end up eating it.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's extremely dangerous because I don't care how strong you are. Like eventually you're gonna reach your breaking point. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And
yeah.
then it's sad because sometimes you know how the saying people take your kindness for weakness, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
And so when people are addressing, when people are like overstepping their boundaries, and if you're not addressing it, then they're gonna just keep doing it. And you're trying to be nice, but at the end of the day, they're gonna keep walking all over you.
Yeah, why wouldn't they?
Right, right, right. And you're like, well, I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be nice. No, no, no. You need to be firm.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but that takes a lot of that takes being able to love yourself and know who you are. And so
Ooh,
if you dealt with a lot of like childhood trauma and like you said abandonment issues, well then that creates a whole another layer where it becomes hard for you to set boundaries because you have that trauma kind of blocking you. You know what I'm saying? So you may set a boundary like for example, like somebody may hear this and be like, "I yeah, I do need to set boundaries." But then because you got that trauma or whatever still holding you back, you may set it, but you won't enforce it.
well, yeah, bro. The whole thing is, it's. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Is loving yourself.
Yeah.
When you don't love yourself, your self-esteem is low. You think you have something to prove. You're trying to be who you're not. I mean, there's a people out here that are a million different people in one day,
Mhm.
and that's because of 9 times out of ten the trauma that was inflicted on them at some point in their life. And the crazy thing about that is what that trauma does is it makes you feel less than, and it makes you feel inferior, and it makes you feel like you're not good enough, and the way that you are, just the genuine authentic you, that there's a problem with that.
Right.
So you start to try to fit in and kind of emulate what other people are doing. You start to kind of say, you know what? Okay, well, this crowd looks like the cool crowd. Let me go see what they're about. Let me go try to hang in with them. And think about people is people shift. They're from one day to the next because people are all wearing masks. We're all hurt in some way, shape, or form, and we're all wearing masks. And 9 times out of 10, you're gonna see the person's representative instead of who they really are. But I say that to say because we show our representative and because we show our mask, it's because, well, for me, I'll speak. It's because of always feeling inferior, always feeling less than, always feeling like I'm not good enough. So because I'm not good enough, I can't be the genuine me. And the genuine me says, no, listen, I need to be treated this way. But the mask, the representative says, treat me how you want to be treated because I just want to be accepted.
Yeah. 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 Now I'm gonna challenge you on something because you said You said we're all wearing masks.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, there's some people, like I said, when I surrendered and I was able to get my identity, I started to lower, like me needing validation from people. I mean, they're still there sometimes. You want to be praised for what you do. You want to be respected for who you are. You want to be seen and observed. But at the same time, we forget that, I should say, I forget that the only pleasing I need to do is for my higher power, and it's not for people. But when I say that we're all wearing a mask, we're all hurt in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, just the things that we go through the world. People want validation from other people. That's where we're at in this world. They want to be praised for what they do. They want to be recognized. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. And they want it, so they don't want it in a way that they need it tangible. They need it to be seen. They need it to be felt. They need the whole world to see it. It's just one of those things that make people feel alive. People feel that they're accomplished. People feel that they matter, and we go out of our way to hide the hurt and the pain and to numb it by people pleasing and by not setting boundaries. That's just been my experience with a lot of people, and my experience with me. On how I used to be. So when you ask, do are most people wearing masks? You seeing the representative? Absolutely, absolutely. I don't even think people take their masks off in their when they go home. Sometimes it's we're at that place in this world. But yeah, we're at a place right now where people truly get validation from other people, and that's what matters to them. And so they have to wear whatever mask that is to get that validation.
That's it, and hey, that's a sad thought. I mean, that we're at that place. B, I'm glad you said most people. Maybe I could buy that a little more. Maybe I could take that a little more because I now I don't think that everybody's wearing a mask. I think the worst thing you could do is actually wear a mask. And one of the reasons why I say it's the worst thing is because let's say that somebody actually does fall in love with that mask. Two things. Number one, they're not falling in love with you, right? So they're falling in love with the representatives. So you still don't even know if they really love you. You still don't even know if they like you. They fall in love with the representative. So so you don't even know if they love you. Second part is if they fall in love with the mask, you gotta keep that mask up.
Yes.
And then if you ever take that mask down, well then shoot. Then they get to see the real you and then they run away. Like even if they would like you, that's not who they fell in love with. So the worst thing you could do is like wear a mask. And I'm like, I get it. I do get it. I get it because people need validation. People want to be accepted. People want to be feel like they belong, feel
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah.
And in some ways people do, people wear a mask to do that.
Yeah. Uh huh.
But I like, especially as I get older, like even when I was younger I didn't understand. I didn't like that concept. I didn't like that
Hmm.
idea. And as I get older I'm like, yo, that's the worst. That's the worst thing you could do. like so for example, right, you think about basketball, right? You think about the goats.
Okay. Wait, how many goats we talking about here?
Well,
But I got you. I got you.
right, well here's the thing, right? When you have the conversation, typically the conversation boils down to two people, right? Is Mike, it's LeBron. Typically, that's the conversation. Oh, who you gonna put in there? Who you gonna put?
I mean, I've always heard Kobe, but
See, but see,
I'm not gonna argue with you on that one because hey, listen, I'm all for LeBron
listen, I know, I
and
know,
Mike being the goats.
I know a lot of people who would say Kobe, but there's a problem with Kobe. Kobe is an obvious second behind Mike, and one of the reasons why he's an obvious second is because Kobe was a very very good copy,
Yeah, of Mike.
right?
Hmm.
And I think that's why he doesn't get the credit that he gets because he was a copy. He wasn't an original. The original gets the credit, not the copy.
I see what you're saying. Okay, okay, but I don't want to get off track. So what are you talking about the goats?
So no. What I'm saying is the mask is the imitation. If Kobe would get more credit if he wasn't imitating Mike.
Yeah, but didn't Kobe turn into the Black Mamba?
Yeah, but I mean everybody tell you that. Kobe told you he was trying to imitate Mike. He was learning from Mike. And so we know that. And since we know that, he he gets left out of the conversation because it's about the original. Like if he was himself without the Mike influence, then
So was Mike the mask?
he would have his no, Mike is not the mask, but Kobe trying to be Mike is the mask.
Okay,
If
yeah,
if
absolutely.
it's Kobe said, man, bump Mike, man. I don't care nothing about Mike. I'm trying to be I'm gonna be me.
But why did Kobe try to be like Mike? Because everybody wants to be like Mike.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And listen, and he came close. But the point is, like as a mask, the best you could do is come second place.
Absolutely, brother. But that does not necessarily mean that, you know, let me back up for a second. Do you know how many people don't even realize they're wearing a mask because they're trying so hard to fit in with everywhere they go?
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying? When you forget that mask that you are is not you,
Hmm.
which is very easy to do, a lot of people, if you say tell a lie long enough, you're gonna believe it. So if you wear that lie long enough, you're gonna be that. So you got so many people that I'm telling you, they don't even know that they're wearing masks because they've been trying to emulate, trying to copy, trying to be, aspire to be whoever's getting the most validation or whichever group's getting the most validation. And in doing so, that mask takes over who they really are.
But that's the
And that's a problem.
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, listen, how are you going to set? So one of the things about setting boundaries is you have to understand you. You got to understand who you are. You can't set boundaries based on like other people's expectations. Like you have to be secure in who you are. But if you're constantly wearing a mask, then that makes you say, all right, well then you know what, I'm I, I'm gonna take this. I'll be all right. I'm gonna take this, and that mask causes you to disregard your boundaries or not set them in the first place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely, bro. That's it right there. That's exactly, you just hit the nail on the head. That's one of the biggest roadblocks in people setting boundaries is when it comes to acceptance. If I do this, I won't be accepted. If I set this boundary, I won't be validated. If I set this boundary, I could possibly not be liked. All these things are under
Mm-hmm.
the umbrella of why we don't set boundaries or why we do set boundaries but don't keep them or
No.
enforce them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well. Let's talk about enforcing them because it is look it's two ball games. It's one to understand and to set your boundaries, and I think it's important to be able to like really understand you, to know yourself, to be able to set those boundaries. But even once you start to know yourself and you start to set those boundaries, how you gonna enforce them?
Especially when the person that you want to please most is not pleased with that boundary.
That part.
Mm.
That part.
See what I'm saying? Eh, Man, how do you do it? How do you do it? That is a great, no, no, no. Not even how do you do it. How do you stick to it? How do you enforce it? Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's a great question. It starts with exactly what you said, loving yourself. I need to love myself enough more than this person that I have on a pedestal, more than these people that I have on a pedestal. I need to love myself. I at least need to be on that pedestal, if not God, but I at least need to be on that pedestal so that I matter. So that when I enforce this, it's not because of them, it's because of me. And I have to get to the point that I love myself enough to say, no, I'm not dealing with this because I love myself enough not to deal with this.
Mm.
You were cool. You had potential. We had a great time. We have great memories, but I can't do this anymore because you are not you are not in a place where I can love myself like this, still engage with you.
Mm. Yeah. Mm. You gotta love yourself.
You got to love yourself, brother. You have to, and it's okay. That's a selfish process.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Remember, we were talking about the
Yeah.
word selfish before.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. But the thing is, like, yes, you have to love yourself. But one of the things that I realized with boundaries, like, not only do you have to love yourself, you're gonna find out who actually loves you when you set boundaries.
ooh, that part.
Because if I truly love you, right, and you set boundaries, I'm gonna respect those boundaries.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That's a sign to say, okay, yeah, you know what? All right, cool. You don't want me to call you after 9 o'clock? Got it. Boom. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh shoot, dang, I forgot to call. It's 9:02. Nah, I can't call them now. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna respect those boundaries because you respect the person. So
And
not only are you gonna loving yourself, but you're gonna find out who else loves you.
or at least respects you.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
You see what I'm saying?
yeah. Better word.
I don't ever like to go too biblical, but when you're in a relationship with a woman, especially married, she's to respect you. You're to love her. Do you see what I'm saying? So I think the biggest thing is respect. The biggest, you're absolutely right. Love does come with that. We embrace each other as brothers, we love each other as brothers,
Mhm.
and we show respect by not crossing those boundaries and allowing ourselves to be genuine and authentic with each other, whatever that looks like. You know what I mean? But in doing so, there's another part to that. There's a wanting to know that when I set this boundary, regardless of what happens, I'm safe because I did this. Does that make sense? And I don't think that you necessarily have to be, feel like you're loved or respected. Somebody may love you, somebody may actually respect you, but they can't respect your boundary.
But do they really love you then?
Well, I mean, think about it, bruh. If I love analogies. Of course, I can't think of one right now, but let's just say that I have a boundary that says, you know what, when I'm in public, I don't like to be talked about. And I'm with somebody who is an amazing person, always there for me, does everything under the sun, as a friend or whatever. But every time we get in public, they get they start talking about me
Every time though.
every time, and it's not something that is consciously done. They just do it because that's what they do it with everybody. But you've asked them not to do it with you.
See, I would argue, like, I would argue that, okay, that because there comes a point in time when if you really love somebody, right, then you're gonna do the things that matters to that person. So I may there's something that I may do for everybody else, but if you say, listen, hey, I don't want that, then
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, right?
okay.
Okay, some people are just creatures of habit, and they do things. Things are so rhythmic with how they are, with their behaviors, with their mannerisms, and it could be something in that you don't like, or there's a boundary that you're trying to set, but because that's who they are as a person, that's their rhythm, that is, what they repeatedly do. It's not like somebody's always trying to hurt you, but they may be doing something that's hurt you without even thinking about it. And you call them up every time on it, like, man, come on, man, come on, man, come on, man. And you realize that, listen, this person doesn't necessarily mean harm to me, but it is harming me because I've asked for that boundary to be set. Does that make sense?
It does, but at what point? See, so what you're saying is that, and this is kind of what we're talking about. Like, what you're saying is you set the boundary, but now you're not going to enforce it because you like the person.
No, 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 no. I'm not saying that. You're still going to enforce the boundary, but I'm not saying that
Oh, and
person doesn't love you. That doesn't person doesn't respect you. That's just who they are.
so, but so if you're not, if you say that that's who they are, then you're not, and you said that, like, they keep doing it.
They got to go. No, no, no. I didn't say that I'm going to keep them around to keep the monotony going. No, 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 no. We're going to break that. The person has to go. I'm just saying that not everybody breaks boundaries because of deviousness. Not everybody, for the most part, I would say for the most part, but there are people out here that are just creatures of habit, and it's a habit that's not cool with you. And because of that, listen, I got to go this way.
I mean, I
And they good over there. You got no bad blood. You don't have any ties to them that's a negative emotion. You don't have any bad blood or anything like that. They just got to go that way, and you going this way.
I mean, I get that, but and yes, just because somebody breaks a boundary doesn't mean that they're a bad person, right? I get that. However, if you're gonna allow them to continue to break, boundaries, then number one, you're not standing up for yourself, and number two,
I agree.
they're not respecting you. Like there has
Yes,
a point.
they're not. But I'm okay. Go ahead.
No, there has to be a point where they say, you know what, dang man, I keep doing it. I'm sorry. Stop. Like 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 I'm not gonna sit up here and say, all right, you smacking me in the face, right? That's just who you are. Just you,
Wow.
right? So you smack me in the face. All right, hey, bro, listen, stop. You know what I mean? And I love you, respect you. Stop. Ah, you smack me again. That's just who I am.
Wait, go back, go back, go back. Smacking people. Okay, I got you. You know what I mean? Nobody's gonna fly with that. Let me use myself as an example, right?
Okay.
I was in active drug addiction and active alcoholism for years.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the people that were ride or die, party.
Hey. I don't hear you. I lost you.
Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Okay, sorry about that. What I was saying was there are people that were my ride or dies when it came to partying and drinking and smoking and all that. And when I finally, gave that up, when I finally got help and I finally surrendered that life and I said, you know what, drinking, smoking, partying is not a part of me anymore. But I mean, those are still my people. I've known them for years. It wasn't that I could sit there and tell them, hey, listen, man, every time you're around me, I smoke weed, man. You know what I mean? Stop smoking weed. And they're like, man, we won't smoke weed around you. You know what I mean? Or we won't drink around you. But that doesn't mean that I don't still smell it. That doesn't mean that I still don't see that they're high. That doesn't mean that those triggers aren't still there for me. And they're not doing it out of that's who they are. That's who they've been. They've never changed. I'm the one that changed. So I'm not exactly expecting them to say, you know what, you changed and I got to follow what you're doing because you changed. This is still what I do. And I loved you when I was doing this. You loved me when we were doing this. But now that you've changed, I can't go with you on that journey because that's not where I'm at.
Yes.
Does that mean that they don't respect me, that they don't still love me? No. That just means that they're still where they are and I'm in a different place. So I'm going this way and no bad blood, but you guys over here.
I will totally disagree.
Okay.
And here's why. Here's why. They love and respect the old you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
They don't love and respect who you are now. They love and
Correct.
respect the old you. The you that did smoke and drink with them. They don't love and respect the version of you. Because if they did, then they would be more cautious, more aware, and they would be like, you know what? Hey man, nah, I can't even go around them like this because I'm, nah, I can't do that because they respect it. It's funny you mention that because in recovery, we always tell people three things you got to change. What's those three things? People,
People, places, and
places,
habits.
things, right? So
Oh, I said habits, but yeah,
well,
go ahead.
yeah, right. So you got to change those. You got to change those people, places, and things. But what you're
Yeah.
saying is you're trying to hold on to those people, places, and things, which kind of goes back to wanting to be accepted. And sometimes when you set boundaries, you're gonna also have to accept the fact that those boundaries may cut some people off.
Amen. And I'm not saying that's it, but that doesn't mean that, okay, what I'm trying to say is that it sounds like what you're saying is, well, people that don't respect your boundaries don't respect you or don't love you. And I'm saying that that's a little, for me, that's a little stretch because I know people that to this day I don't hang with anymore, but I could still call and be like, listen, I got such and such coming up. I need some help and we'll be there for you. We'll be there for me. I can't hang with them. I can't be around them because what they do, their lifestyle is not something that I can do anymore. Right.
Right. Right.
But that doesn't mean that if I needed some help that they wouldn't still be there for me in a minute. Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to say that, I understand what you're saying. Yes, the new you they don't respect. The new you is changed. The new you they don't love because they don't know the new you.
Right.
They've only known, what they're comfortable in, or how they're only comfortable with how you used to be.
Right.
They're not comfortable with who you are now because that's not who they are. They haven't transitioned. Do you see what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean that they have any love loss. That just means that, I mean, they may have some love loss, but that I should say that doesn't mean that they don't respect you. They respect you to say, listen, man, you go on and do your thing, man. I'm gonna be over here, but if you need me, holler.
Yeah. Okay. So we're saying two different things because I think I'm with you on that. Like if somebody says, "Listen, you don't do that no more," cool. Do your thing. Love you. If you need something, hit me up.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do my thing, and it ain't gonna affect you.
right. That's okay.
That's
That's what I'm saying.
that's something different because what we were saying before is you're they keep crossing the boundaries. You saying they're habitual line steppers, and
Yes.
all
Okay, I see what you're saying.
So
So what I'm saying is, okay, to that part, right? When someone is, let's just say the same thing, when someone is still showing up to me and they're still high and I'm still alive
they had
and I'm like, listen,
and
bro,
they
you
got drink.
can't be around me like this. You know, my bad. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm leaving, man. I get up with you next time. You be like, okay,
Hmm.
cool. You gonna be sober next time? Yeah, man. All right, cool. They come up. Hey, man, I can already tell you not sober, bro. I can already tell you not sober, man.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, bro. I can't hang out with you, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You right. You right. I forgot. You know me, man. My moon, man. Come on, man. You know how we go.
Hmm.
All right. That's cool, brother. But I can't be around it. I'm just letting you know. I told you last time. I'm telling you this time. Do you see how that plays out with people?
Yes.
Nobody doesn't. I mean, I'm not
But
just.
what I'm
You know,
saying
it's not.
is, if they
Yeah.
keep doing that, they keep coming back, then they're letting you know, no, I don't respect you right now. Like it's different if they say he right, you know what I mean, and then you don't see him for a couple years, and then but if they keep coming, if they keep coming through,
Yeah. But could they just not be thinking to respect you? Could they be oblivious to it at the time? I mean, is that a possibility is what I'm saying? Could they be so ingrained in what they do and in their lifestyle
that they just don't care about you. Yes,
that they don't think to care about you?
yeah, they don't care about you. Yeah.
Okay. So listen, I give you that. Just I think there's a gray area, just to me, where I don't necessarily hold someone responsible because for whatever reason they can't uphold a boundary you set. I don't think that is they may not be able to walk my walk anymore. They may not be able to be in my presence, but I don't have any love loss for them if that makes sense necessarily.
And listen, I'm not saying to have love loss. I'm not saying that, like listen, I think it's very possible to love somebody who don't love you. I think it's possible to respect somebody who don't respect you.
Oh, you hit me in the heart. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. We don't need to get on that. That's a whole nother topic. But bam, bam.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's definitely possible to do that. But at the same time, like I can love you.
Are you loving yourself though by doing that?
Yes, yes. But
Explain that
but
to me.
but so I could love you and respect you and say stay away from me.
No, 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 no. We were talking about loving someone who doesn't love you.
Right.
All
Right.
right.
So you don't respect me, you don't love me, you keep crossing my boundaries.
Hmm.
Okay? I can still love you and say, dude, you keep crossing my boundaries. That's a wrap. I love you. But that's it. We're done.
So you talking about like loving someone from afar.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, I see what you're saying in that aspect. I think my bigger point because triggered something right there was when you talk about loving someone who's not
Yeah.
loving you. It's you love them so much that you fight for it, that
Mm,
you fight for hope, you fight for
yeah.
faith in it, you fight, and it is out of love. But at the same time, that person doesn't have love for you. But you're forgetting to love yourself, which is why you continue to fight.
Mm, so they don't have love for you. You don't have love for you. So what are you fighting for?
Because that's the only love that you know right then is loving them.
Listen, I think we have a huge problem in this at least here in America. We got a
Hmm.
huge problem with love because I think on many levels people don't understand what love is.
Is it an emotion?
No,
Is it a choice?
no, it's a decision.
All right, let me change my wording.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it a choice you make? So it's a decision that you make.
It's a decision that you make.
Okay. And once you make that decision, you're committed to that decision, correct?
Rain, sleet, hail, snow, like I'm not a fan of all these loves. Like we got so we
I'm with you. I'm with you. Love should be, if we talking about love
Mhm,
and love, where it comes from, because it is, biblical. But anyways,
mhm.
the biggest thing about it is it's agape. What does agape love mean?
It's unconditional.
Unconditional.
Right.
And that is what love is at its core.
Right.
And so if I choose to love, I'm choosing to love unconditionally.
Right.
Now, the thing that we are doing it right now, what we've got to in this world is people love with conditions,
Yes.
which is not necessarily love.
I think most people only know that type of love.
I agree.
I think most people only know that type of love. That's why most people would say, "Hey, if I'm in a relationship and this happens, then we're done." It's okay. Well, I mean,
But hold on. What about what you're just talking about, though? You fall in love with somebody's mask. You love that mask unconditionally.
let's see.
Then that mask comes off eventually, right?
That's the problem.
Yeah, bam. Now, do you stop loving that person?
You never loved that person. You loved the mask.
You love the mask. Do you stop loving that human being?
I don't see. See, that's the problem with the mask. Like,
I know.
you know what I'm saying? That's like me saying. That's like me saying, I bet. I fell in love with you. I fell in love with the 25 version of you, the 25-year-old you. So when you're 30, I'm not in love with the 30-year-old. Like what? Like just because it's 5 years. Now you're not in love just because I'm 31.
Damn. Just because you found out we can't have kids, just because you found out I got cancer, just because you found out I lost my job, just because you found out dot dot dot
You know
dot
what I'm
dot.
saying? Now, but that's different. Like because if I fall in love with you,
Mm-hmm.
the core of you, and I decide to fall in love with that's at 25, that's at 50, that's at 90, that's at 100. That doesn't change. But if I was bamboozled and fell in love with a mask, that
Wait. You may not been bamboozled. Well, you have been
there
bamboozled,
you go.
but if that person doesn't know that they have a mask, if that's who they become, until the genuine comes out, because it's always going to come out.
That's the that's the sad part. That's one of the reasons why you got to be grown to get married and be in a relationship.
Pause. Define grown.
Grown, mature.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Emotionally mature, emotionally stable,
yeah. I mean,
not just older.
you could be 25 and be grown.
My point.
I don't know. I don't know if you could be 20 and be grown. I mean, maybe
Well, this is the thing, Jay. You just hit the nail on the head, bro. And it starts with men, especially in this society, is we're not taught emotional maturity.
absolutely not. No.
And we're taught to go with what we feel. We're taught to say, hey, listen, if this feels best, go that way. If
Hmm.
this stops feeling good, go that way. If it and do it on your own. Do it on your own. If you want to do something, you try hard enough, you can do it. All of these farces that we believe in because of societal views and the way that society actually raises people, we have dummied down and accepted.
Hmm.
And the thing about that is, men don't practice emotional maturity. And guess what? Women don't either because of that. I wouldn't say because of men, but just because of society. And so what happens is you have people who have made a commitment because of an emotional connection, and that emotional connection has changed. It's gone. It's lost. Now what do you have? Now what's your foundation? You don't have one. So people are just drifting. And that's men and women. I mean, I shouldn't say, well, look at the divorce rate, but
Hmm.
if we take a look, if we just take a look at what's going on in the world right now, when people don't feel like being in a committed relationship, when people don't feel like being married, when people don't feel like being in a relationship, it's time to go. Not work it out.
Right. 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 Whenever they don't feel like it, because and then shoot, we'll hit this on another podcast, but we are so detached from who we are that we can't even. It's sad that we can't even trust our feelings. It's sad that we're in a place, and I don't mean everybody, because there are some people who can trust their feelings. There are some people who are emotionally mature, and they understand what it means, but there's the majority of people. I would argue, yeah, I feel
The majority.
the majority of people, they can't trust their feelings because for several reasons. Number one, they've neglected their feelings so
Hmm.
much. That's why it's hard to create boundaries, because it don't feel good.
That part.
You know what I'm saying?
That part.
And so when you get used to, if you there's a thing in the hospital, right? When nurses work in the hospital, where they have to train the nurses. There's constant training on this. And the training is very simple. When you walk past a room and you hear stuff beeping, check the room. Now it when you go through the training, it's almost like a like it like if somebody who didn't work at the hospital went through that training, they'd be like, seriously, like you have to be trained to stop at a room when you hear a machine beeping. Like, I don't.
See what you're saying? Yeah.
But in the hospital, you hear it so much that you don't hear it no more.
Mm. Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
so you hear it so much that you neglect it. You don't hear it no more.
Mm-hmm. Well, you don't focus in on that.
Right, because you got
Yeah.
so used to just tuning it out,
Yes.
that
Yes.
that becomes your default. So now somebody dies at the hospital. Then they got to have a major training, and it's like, well, we know we supposed to stop. Well, why didn't you stop? Well, because I got so used to pushing that out of my purview because I'm doing other stuff. I got used to neglecting it so much so that I don't even hear it anymore, so I can't respond to it. And that's how our emotions have gotten. We got so used to just pushing it aside that you can't even trust it anymore. You can't hear it. You can't hear it anymore. You don't even know what the heck your emotions are saying. It could be telling you somebody's dying, and you just walking right past it because you're like, I can't trust my emotions. I gotta go to work. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. And it's like we don't understand it. We don't understand our emotions, and we're not connected. We're not connected anymore.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that, brother. Disconnect is
We are
if
totally.
we are so hurried and so busy in life to gain material things that you'll never be satisfied with, that we skip the process of knowing our emotions, attaching to our emotions, seeing the root cause of why we're getting the emotion,
Mhm.
and responding to the emotion accordingly.
Right.
That's what we're not at anymore.
Right. We can't do none of that. We can't do none of that. And we've neglected it with setting our boundaries. We push it aside. The reason why you got boundaries is because those emotions are they're screaming at you.
Mm,
They're screaming at you. And you sitting here like, man, that's just another machine beeping. You let me walk past it. Let me walk past.
hold up. How many times do we do that in relationships with red flags? All those red flags, all that beeping at the hospital, bro,
You
because
know,
they just beeping, beeping,
and you just
and we
walk
just walking by
right past it, walking right.
right past it. No. You know what? You see it, but you're so accustomed to it because you haven't set the boundary or you haven't stuck with the boundary that it's just another beep. It's just an, oh, they go a flag. All right, whatever.
And then you set a boundary, and then you expect people to respect it when you never enforce the other boundaries.
That part. And that, see, that's Jay. You keep saying, you keep hitting the nail on the head. In my view is I have to respect myself enough to be in tune with those red flags. I have to love myself enough to know that those red flags matter and I need to pay attention to them.
Mm-hmm.
I need to respect and love myself enough to be in touch with my emotions and to be responsive to my emotions, not necessarily reactive, but at least responsive to see where they're coming from, why they're there, what they're alerting me of, why they're making me feel this way, instead of just ignoring them to people please, ignoring them to keep the relationship going, ignoring them to make a relationship that shouldn't be there. Whatever you want to, fill in that blank with.
Hmm.
That's where we're not at.
Yeah, and that's the problem.
That's the
That's
problem.
that's the problem because one of the things that we're going to have to do if we're gonna survive this shift, and we got to realize like there's a major shift, and if we're gonna survive this shift, we're gonna have to come to grips with who we really are. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna have to look ourselves in the mirror and really start to understand who we are and where we are. And if we don't, listen. One thing I realized about time, it ain't gonna stop. Things are gonna keep moving forward. And you're gonna keep moving forward. We
Hmm.
all are gonna keep moving forward. We could make it easy or we can make it hard. The easy is going with it, moving forward. But moving forward, understanding who you are. The hard part is going to be fighting it. And some people want to fight it.
The nail.
But if you fight it, then you're not gonna make the changes that needs to be made, and you're not gonna survive. You're not gonna survive the shift. The shift, you're gonna have to address who you are. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm with you. I'm just pondering for a second, but yeah, I'm with
oh
you.
no. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. If you're gonna create a boundary, your boundary has to be set based on what you actually deem to be a boundary, which means you have to know who you are, to know yourself. If you're setting your boundaries based on other people and other
Hmm.
it's stupid. It's idiotic. You know, it's funny because I'll watch these little video clips, and I'll hear these women talking about these dudes they want, right? And they're like, nah, these are my expectations. These are my boundaries. He got to make this amount of money. He got to be this tall. He got to look like this. He got to look like that.
That's it right there.
And
That
they're like,
you just hit the yeah.
I'm sitting there like, yo, all right, listen, uh, is that the boundaries that you set, or that somebody else is setting for you?
Ha! Bam. That part. That part. Where are your boundaries coming from? And if you really think about it, people are buying into society setting the boundaries, to social media setting the boundaries, to media that we watch setting the boundaries, to the music that we listen to setting the boundaries. And it's all a facade. And we buy into that, and it's all, and the thing is, you can never get to a level that you're comfortable at, because once you're there, you got to be at the next level.
Right.
We're looking at the material side of life, and that is what we're living in right now. People are living through the flesh and not the spirit. And because we're living through the flesh, it can never, ever be satisfied. And that is what social media drives, flesh. That is what media drives, flesh. That is what the music industry drives, flesh, and every other type of entertainment or anything that people grasp to or look at pushes flesh, feeding the flesh and not your spirit in any way. There is no self-growth is not something that you're just going to see on media. You know what I mean? You're not going to see people saying, I'm going to take time to meditate. I'm going to take time to pray. I'm going to take time to put a plan together and to put it into action. No, we want to see people doing jokes, playing tricks on each other, doing crazy old things. We want to see violence. We want to see every other thing except what can help me to grow. What can help me to be better? What can help me to know and identify what it is that I like, what it is that I need, what it is that I'm going for in life, and not what all these other people are going for in life because they look happy on their social media platform, or they look happy in the media, and they've got this car and this amount of money and this title and this many people liking them, and all these other things that are all material bullcrap. Excuse my French.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what we are feeding into, is what society is playing on us, to trick that all of us, the majority of us, are saying, you know what, I want to be like the social media instead of I want to be like me, because I don't know me.
And they don't realize the emptiness and that being you. Like I mean, we could count countless celebrities who we thought had it all, and then somehow, some way, end up killing themselves because they had everything that you're supposed to have, but in doing that, they lost themselves. And I mean, there's a saying from a book: what does it profit a man
I own the whole
to
world.
gain the whole world, but doesn't have himself? He gains the whole world through a mask. So if you're gonna connect with yourself, like if you're gonna even think about setting boundaries, you got to start to connect with yourself. But you don't even
Yeah,
know who you are.
that part. How do you find out who you are?
You know what? You mentioned praying and meditating. I find that there's a thought in our society. And granted, listen, I've never been in prison. I've never been in solitary confinement, but I hear that that's one of the worst things you could do to somebody, to put somebody in solitary confinement. Now, while I understand that we are social creatures, so it is a punishment, but a lot of the people that I've spoken with who've been in solitary confinement, they say that It's being with yourself, it's being with your own thoughts. And to that, I say that is the saddest idea, one of the saddest ideas I have ever heard. So you mean to tell me it's not scary not being around other people? You're telling me it's scary to be with you.
Mm-hmm.
You're not telling me that it's scary to not be around other people. You're telling me that it's scary to be around you. You're
You
telling
go
me
crazy around you.
you go crazy being with you. You know, we don't have the ability to cultivate silence. We got too much noise. We got cell phones, we got computers, we got TV, we got radios, we got so much noise that we can't cultivate silence that you know, I mean think about the average person, right? Average person got a cell phone. Average person goes into the bathroom with their phone, play a game, read something. They put music on when they're in the shower. They do their hygiene. They brushing their teeth. They watching TV, or they got some music going on, or they got something. They got something. They go to sleep with the TV on, or some, even in the group that's trying to be positive. They may go to sleep with some motivational stuff on or something. But it's like, at what point do you cultivate silence? At what point do you sit with yourself and observe your own thoughts? At what point do you sit with you? You just distract yourself all daggone day. And so then when it comes time for you to even think about creating a boundary, what boundary you gonna create? You don't know you.
Not only do you not know you, but you're scared of finding out who you are.
Right, right. You know why? Because we're not perfect. And if I'm gonna be honest, there's parts of me that I don't like looking at.
I think that could go for everybody in this world.
Yes. That's why people don't want to look at it. Because people think, even though it's widely known that this is not the case, the reality is that people actually think that life is like Instagram.
Yes,
People actually think that.
yes, yes.
And and
And live it, and live it.
and so even when you say, listen, man, everybody else on, like, they not balling like that, they not living like that, it's a facade. People are like, oh yeah, it is, but I still want my life to look like that.
That part,
And it's like, bruh,
that part.
what? Seriously? Come on, man, stop it, for real. Like you want your life,
No, and they're for real.
and they are.
Yeah.
And so then when they look at themselves and see the imperfections, they're like, oh no, I can't put this on Instagram.
No,
No, no.
no. And God forbid it comes out
Oh my
and
God,
hits Instagram. That's the end of that world. Now people looking for a bridge.
they gonna know who I am for real? Oh my gosh, no, no. And I think that's the scary part, when you realize you're not perfect,
Mm,
and you thought you were. Like if you know you ain't perfect, well, that ain't no thing. Like, shoot, I know I ain't perfect.
mm-hmm.
You ain't telling me nothing I don't know.
But you said something though. You said there's parts of me that I don't like to look at.
Yeah.
And there's Lord knows there's parts of me I don't like to look at. But is there a way to accept them, even though you don't like looking at them?
Yes. Yes. But go ahead.
In doing so, does that take away from you needing to be perfect?
Absolutely. I don't need to
Okay.
be perfect. I
Right. I don't need to be perfect either.
Yeah, I have no desire of being perfect.
What I'm saying is because we have all these people trying to live the life of people who are trying to show that they're perfect,
Mm-hmm.
nobody's trying to show, hey, I have flaws and I have to accept these flaws. And I'm cool with that. I'm cool with these flaws because it's who I am. No, it's I have no flaws. And this is what life looks like without no flaws. This is what life looks like flawlessly. This is how it is. I got all the money, I got all the jewels, I got all the girls, I got all the guys, I got whatever.
There's a lot of that.
And people have bought into that
Yes.
and say, you know what? I can't have any flaws either. I got to be perfect.
But you know,
And instead of accepting those flaws, instead of saying, you know what, this is a part of me, you know what I mean, and I'm not perfect, and I'm okay, and I'm just fine, just like this. It's, oh, I gotta hide this. I got to be somebody else. I can't show this. And God forbid this ever comes to light, because if it does, it's going to crush everything, even though it's a lie.
Yes, yes. Now, and granted, now, so here's the thing, because you do have some people who will display their imperfections,
Hmm.
and people don't want
Hmm.
to see that. But until people start to realize, like, I think you have to go through a phase. You have to go through a phase where you think life is perfect. You want to be that. You want that perfection, and then you realize that's not real life. And then you want to hear from somebody who's telling you about real life. And then you go back to those people who were showing you their scars. And you're like, that's real life. That's something I could relate to. That's something like, you know what I mean? Like that's that's something that I can aspire to be. That's realistic. That's that's within my purview. Like
That's attainable.
that's obtainable. They're not perfect.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect. Like, all right, cool. Like I could do that. But I thought that this was real. And you may go through a point in time where you think of a 16-year-old, 20-year-old who's on Instagram. Some of them may think, all right, yeah, that's real. It's real. It's real. Yeah, you don't know, man. They really live like that. It's really, really real.
For now, until you see the real.
And then and then 10 years later, you see the Lambo get repoed.
Mm.
You see them try to kill themselves because they done been divorced. They got divorced, and everything's crumbling. And then they're like, and then those people that was looking up to him like, I don't know what happened. What happened? What happened? Life was happening. Life
Hmm.
was always happening. They took a snapshot and sold you on a dream.
Sold you on a mask.
They sold you on a mask, and it was a snapshot, and you bought it. And now you got to come back to say, all right, well, what does real life look like? How do I find myself? Because
More than that, now you got to start setting boundaries.
right,
Because before you've just accepted everything.
how do I do that?
How do I do that? That
I don't know how
part.
to do that. I don't know how to set no boundaries, man. I don't even know. I don't even know where to start, man.
So let's talk. Let's get into that. Let's get into that. How does someone who's never set boundaries, who's accepted everyone, how do they even know how? What's the first step in setting a boundary?
All right. So after you know yourself, right? After you done paid attention to you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, then you have to, because like you said earlier, it's your How did you say it? It's no you. I said it's your deal breakers. I forgot how
Yeah.
you put it, right? But
Yeah.
it's your
Your
deal.
non-negotiables.
It's your non-negotiables, right? Well, once you establish that these are the things that I need, you need to be willing to vocalize it and let somebody know. So, for example, if I say, "Listen, I need I need sleep," okay, I go to bed at 10 o'clock. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, I go to bed at 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what does that mean for you practically? Because you be on the phone till 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. So, what does that mean? Well, it means I need to set a boundary on phone calls. Okay. So when do you set that? What time? Well, I probably need to set a boundary where I can't accept phone calls after 9 o'clock because I got to be to bed about 10. Okay. Set that boundary. So who calls you after 9 o'clock? Let them know, hey, you know, I love to talk to you, but I got to be to bed at 10 o'clock. I can't talk past 9 o'clock. Like that's my cutoff. And when you start doing that, again, you start to see, okay, who's gonna respect that boundary?
Mm-hmm.
Who's gonna respect it?
Mm.
Am I gonna call you at 9:30 and just be like, all right, man, I thought you was gonna be up. Nah.
Can I ask a question too?
Yeah.
And what happens when everybody that's in your life that you have never set a boundary for, that now you're setting a boundary for, doesn't want to respect that boundary? Can you deal with they gotta go?
That's the that see, that's why we spent so much time talking about you got to know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you know yourself, then it'll be easy. It's not easy. Nothing's easy, but it becomes easier for me to say, you know what, I love me, I respect me. If you don't, people, places, things got to change. Goodbye.
I want to take this back to one time where you noticed, I noticed, but I was in a certain situation. No, I'll just say it, coming out of going through a divorce and an abandonment,
Mm-hmm.
with my ex. And, me being that relationship, trying to be the pleaser so long. And when it all hit the ground, when she was gone and I was going through a divorce and on the phone with you, blowing you up, trying to, have a friend,
Mm-hmm.
you asked me one question. You said, you know what does Aunt Samana like to do?
Right.
And I couldn't answer that.
Mm-hmm.
That was almost 4 years ago. That planted a seed, and I'll never forget why that planted a seed, because I really didn't know what I liked. I didn't know who I was. I didn't have an identity. My identity was I'm married and happy wife, happy life. And I didn't even know
Mm-hmm.
she wasn't happy. And you know what I mean? Whatever she wants to do is that's what we doing.
Right.
But who am I? What do I stand for?
Right.
And I stood on wind. I had no rock to stand on. And so the first thing I had to do was learn that I didn't know who I was. So now I have to take time to figure out who I am.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like? That looks like isolation.
Mm.
That looks like solitude.
Mm.
Now let's take a look. A lot of people say isolation is a bad thing, solitude is a bad thing. Okay, isolation, I would say sometimes you have to isolate because you are in such a place of going with the crowd, going with the flow, going with what you know, that you have to break away from it. And it's okay to isolate, to say I'm breaking away. But in isolating, be in solitude. What solitude is for me is being with God, being reflective, self reflection, and saying, okay, it's time for me to work on me. How does that even look like? And then starting to put that together. And it takes time. It takes trying new things. It takes spiritual journeys. It takes faith. It takes surrendering. It takes a plethora of things. But my walk isn't everybody's walk. So whatever walk that is, and whatever that walk that looks like for the next person, it starts with isolating from what you know, and to be in solitude, to say, okay, let me start to see what things intrigue me. Let me start to see some things that I want to get into. Things that I find pleasure and I find joy in. That's not that.
Right.
That wasn't that. And not being attached to the pleasures of somebody else and making those your pleasures. Not being attached to the joy of somebody else and making that your joy, but actually you finding your own joy and your own purpose and your own identity. And that's almost always a spiritual journey, brother.
Well, that's that's a whole nother podcast, because whenever you're in a relationship, right,
Mm-hmm.
there's give and take.
Mm-hmm. I gotta start writing these down. Next podcast.
Yeah. 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 It's give and take, and shoot, one of the things that you have to be kind of open to in a relationship is learning new things. And so if you're totally stuck, then you can't move, then you can't learn, then you can't pick up new things. But I think one of the best things, I said the worst thing, one of the worst things you could do is wear a mask. That's one of the worst things you could do, because somebody may fall in love with that mask. An employer may fall in love with that mask. A mate may fall in love with that mask. Shoot, your kids may fall in love with that mask. And then they never get to know the real you. One of the best things you can do for anybody is be the best version of you, to be the authentic you. And I think we miss something when it's something beautiful about really starting to understand who you are, because when you understand who you are and you start to become the full version of you, then you start to connect with the rest of the world, you start to connect with other people. You start to become one with other people. And so it is possible for me to not know you, not never hear about the music you listen to, get to know you, and fall in love with the things that you're in love with. And I don't know it. I don't listen to country music, but you do. And it's possible because of my connection with you and because of me being my authentic self. I can actually start to love the things that you love because I know me and there's a connection there.
But okay, now the flip side of that. Am I loving these things that you love because you love them, and since you love them, I'm going to make myself love them, or I'm going to fake like I love them, or whatever the case may be, because that's what you love?
And see that's where I think that's where the mask part comes in because sometimes people do that and they think it's game. It's,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
absolutely. Yes.
It's like oh babe, I was sitting there, I was thinking of you. I was watching this movie. It reminded me, oh, what movie was you? Oh, I was watching this. You named the movie. It's like, oh, that's my favorite movie. Oh yeah, baby. I was thinking this game. Shut up. Stop.
Man, you know how many Bama's I heard talk about they love the notebook? Bama, no, you don't. No, you don't. Stop swelling. Man, I'm trying to tell you all of the time.
But 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 it is possible for me to love you so much that I'm like, all right, why do you like this? Like I can care less about it. But this is not about me. It's about me understanding you. And so when I start to understand you, okay, so if I'm listening to this with your ears, I can see why you like this. Huh.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. And it's also possible not to like it
And
and not to have to like it. You know what I mean? But for you to still have that connection with that person because you guys both respect each other.
yes, yes. And again, that's knowing yourself because you got to be able to be like, listen, I heard it. I heard it through your. I understand why you like it. I don't.
Yeah,
I don't.
sure don't.
I tried it. Don't like it.
You want to watch the Hallmark Channel all
You
day,
know what?
baby.
Go,
But guess what? That's your show.
go for it. You know what I mean?
You know? Yeah.
Go for it. I live lifetime. I don't need it. I don't need it. Go. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
when you're talking about boundaries, it's hard to even think about the boundaries when you don't know yourself. You trying to set boundaries for what? What you setting boundaries for? You don't know you. You don't know yourself. So what you setting boundaries for?
So is it safe to say that the foundation for setting boundaries is first knowing yourself?
Yes,
And the way to know yourself is to start loving yourself.
I think this whole I think ultimately, like when we talking about real talk, what we're really talking about is being real and candid and open and honest, being vulnerable, and that's how you get to know you. That's how you get to know you. To be naked and ashamed and unashamed. That's how you get to know you.
To
The
be naked and unafraid.
and unafraid,
Yeah.
unashamed, un untethered, whatever you want to think about, right? It's like that's how you get to know you. And then once you start to get to know you, now all of a sudden I know me, so I can set these boundaries. I know me. So I know I can't have somebody smoking and drinking around me. I know me
Mm.
because I know me.
Hmm.
If you don't know you, then you don't even know to set that boundary.
You know, I think you also have to just not know you, but respect yourself enough to set boundaries. Realize that you matter. Realize that it's not just, I can know me and think the worst, that I'm less than anything. And it's because that's what I know of me.
You know what? I don't think that if you truly know you, I don't think you would. I don't think you could. Matter of fact, I think if you truly know yourself, I don't think you can look down on anybody, including yourself.
Well, I wouldn't say you wouldn't look down. You would look down on people that, can we say we would all look down at a pedophile? A pedophile wouldn't look down at a pedophile.
It was that's right. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. No, we can't all say that. And the challenge, and this is why I say, if you truly know you, you ain't
Hmm.
gonna look down on nobody else. Now you can't. And
It's not looking down. It's not necessarily looking down. It's saying that, you know what you do, I don't need to be a part of. I don't agree with either.
but that's fine. But 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 you
I think
gotta understand, if because this, let's just make this clear, neither one of us are pedophiles, right?
absolutely.
But if you, let's say you know a pedophile,
Why?
if you lived that guy's life, you would have did what he did.
So you telling me if I knew a murderer and I lived their life, I would have done what they did?
Absolutely. And see,
If
this is the challenge, because we
why does what they do mean that I would have responded the way that they did?
because if you would have lived their life, you would have had their knowledge, their understanding, their interpretation of what has happened.
Oh, okay. So not living their life as me, living their life as them.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Absolutely, I agree with that. I agree with that.
If I would have lived my life as you, I would be you.
They understand why they do it. I don't understand why they do it, and I don't have to. I understand what you're saying.
Right.
Believe you. I don't want to say believe. I agree with you to the extent of when you know yourself, you're not judging other people. You're not belittling other people. I can say though that when you know yourself, that you don't necessarily agree with what other people do. You don't necessarily. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and you don't necessarily have to. It's not that you frowning on them, but you may frown upon what it is that they do because you know yourself, and that's not something you would do.
Yes. Yes. You know that that's not something that you would do, but you didn't live their life. And see, and I think, but see, this becomes the secret of knowing yourself.
Hmm.
Like, the more you know yourself, the more you know other people.
Yes, I get that. Okay, I see how you're going. Oh, the reason that I can agree with that. I run 7 recovery houses for people overcoming addiction from alcohol use to drug use. And one thing about the participants that are in the houses that I run, they don't know themselves. And they know themselves through what they do, through their addictions, through the trauma that's happened to them. And when I sit down and I listen and I talk to them and we get into some, deep conversations about, why they are who they are, what comes out is life, the life that they've gone through.
Yes.
And the life that they've gone through is why they are who they are. And so I agree with that. And it's okay, well, how do we get to the life that you want to get to? How do we get to that part? Because in order to do that, I know that life has brought you here. I know that you do the things that you do because of what life has done. But does your life dictate who you are? Does your life dictate who you're trying to be? Does your life say, you know what, I've gone through this, and this, and I've done this, and this, so I got to stay here. I can never be better. I can never move past what I've done. That is the dilemma that a lot of men face. Is instead of facing the past and saying, you know what, that past doesn't dictate me, that's happened to me and it's traumatic and I need to go through the therapy and get the help and whatever the case may be to start facing and dealing with that, we stay stuck in that being the definition of us. And that defines us instead of who we really are defining us because we're not going to take the time to figure out who we are. We've let the drugs and the alcohol and the addictions and filling the void with whatever negative do that for us.
Right. Right. You know, it's a delicate balance. It's a delicate act. But if you think of a kid,
Hmm.
right? Let's take a kid that's riding on a bike. He falls off the bike,
Before.
scrapes his knee, got a big old cherry on his knee. Now the parent has an option here. The parent can say, "Hey boy, man, that little cherry, man, come on, you good? Get up, get back on the bike, stop crying, stop crying, get your butt back on that bike, boy, stop playing." Or you can have the parent who says, come here," and hold that child, let them cry, clean them up, and then say, "Okay, all right, now you ready to get back on the bike?" And I think that we are so used to The man, come on, man. Yeah, all right. Yeah, listen, that was 3 months ago. Get your butt back on the bike. And while while we're used to that, nobody is saying, understand. Here, give me a hug. Nobody's saying, and since nobody is saying that, so many people are just like, I can't get back on the bike. F the bike. F this bike.
Hmm.
I can't just, no, it ain't that easy. You don't understand. You don't understand. Okay, I get it. I get it. I do understand. You need a hug. You need to be embraced,
Yes, you need to be loved.
and you need to be not ridiculed for what you do for falling off the bike.
That part.
Because
That part.
the hug says I accept you for who you are. Yes, you
Hmm.
fell off the bike. I'm not saying you didn't.
But the chastising does the opposite.
I'm not I'm not here to chastise you. Because if I was you, I would have fell off the bike too. I get it. I'm here to
Absolutely.
I'm here to give you a hug, give you some encouragement, and encourage you to get back on the bike.
Hmm.
But get back on the bike when you're ready. But I'm encouraging you to get back on the bike. But shoot, if you haven't had a hug in 30, if everybody been telling you get back on the bike and you done relapsed for 15 times, and everybody just decided just get back on the bike. I'm first off, I'm grieving my mother dying
Mm.
when I was 11. I'm grieving I'm grieving my father abusing me from age 8 to 13. Then I done relapsed 15 times. So I'm grieving every relapse I've ever did, thinking that I got it. And now you're telling me, here's the 16th time, just get back on the bike. You know what you really need? You need sometimes sometimes people need somebody to give them permission to be their imperfect self.
Bet. I Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Sometimes people need permission to be their imperfect self. And I think we miss that.
You know how many people have to hit rock bottom to get to that?
Yeah.
Or do hit rock bottom to get to that?
Yes.
That is what I deal with on a daily basis. Sometimes I ask myself, is the rock bottom necessary? Do people really have to get to a point where there's nothing left? Nothing left. No one to reach out to, no handout, no nothing for them to say, you know what, I gotta do something about this. I gotta change. How does this change occur? And where does this permission for me to be myself, where do I get it from? And that's where the higher power comes in. That's where your spiritual journey comes in. Is because there is no one that's going to give you permission for that. The person that gives what gives you permission, who gives you permission to be your authentic, imperfect self is your higher power. And that is where you get your identity from so that you can be imperfectly perfect as you walk on and as you grow in life.
You and I both know that's a challenge, because the challenge is, you're right. I 100% agree with you. But I remember people who would not go inside of a church because they weren't perfect.
I don't think you need to go inside of a church. I think that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And when people are ready for a place for change, there will be a spiritual guide to help you along with that change, whatever that looks like. I'm not a proponent necessarily of organized religion. I'm not necessarily an advocate for every church. What I am an advocate for and what I stand on is a relationship with your higher power. And how you come to that, how that comes to be is between you and your higher power and whatever journey you're on. But until you're in a place that you can be accepting of that, that you can understand that change is necessary, once you understand that and you start to look and say, I don't know how to change, what do I do? The teacher will appear.
I agree. I agree. I agree. But I still feel like, yeah, sometimes people need that hug, that permission,
They
you know?
yes. And but I don't isn't that spiritual, bro? Isn't that hug? Isn't that you unlearning everything that you've been taught just by that one embrace?
I think, okay, two things. I think, yes, yes. I think you're right. I think there's definitely, obviously, yes, there's a spiritual component to it. But I also feel like there are times when it may not necessarily be needed, but it is greatly, and it greatly enhances your chances of being successful. It's something about not being alone, and not just from the spiritual standpoint, from saying, okay, well, I have a higher power, but saying, no, I have somebody here who accepts me for who I am. Like that, that's the human side of this thing. Like, we are social creatures, so it's impossible for us to just just be like, forget everybody. Not impossible, but it's hard to just say forget everybody and I'm just gonna roll with my higher power. Yes, your higher power plays a major part, but your higher power also got other people around here for you,
That's my point.
right?
To
So
give you that hug.
yes, and I'm saying, like, for some people, that hug can be everything.
Mm, it is everything. It's life changing.
Yeah,
It is being awakened and literally being utterly shook to a point that you now realize that you've never before been able to conceptualize a different life. And that hug has just given you eyes to see, ears to hear, to say, you
right.
know what, wait a minute. I can feel this embrace. I can feel this love. I've never felt this before. I want to know what this feels like. I
Yeah,
want to grow in this path.
yes, and for somebody to say, "Hey, I accept you for who you are." Sometimes you have to be given that permission to say, for somebody to say, "I accept you for who you are." That's this metaphorical hug that I'm talking about. It's I know you
I get what you're saying.
like, right? I'm giving you this metaphorical hug. I am accepting you for who you are, which gives you permission to now start to accept yourself for who you are. And sometimes some people are so damaged that all they need is permission, and they may not get that. A lot of people are damaged by their biological parents,
Yes.
right? And so they may not.
Yes, sir, they are.
We'll get that. We'll talk.
Next,
We'll talk
next podcast.
shows, right? But they're so damaged from their biological parents, they just need a metaphorical hug. They need somebody to say, "Hey, I see you and I accept you for who you are." To give them the courage to say, "You know what? I ain't so bad." I think, and we're gonna start to wrap up with this, because I think that Mr. Berry, and I know nobody knows who Mr. Berry is, but he's the showed me what a mentoring organization was, which I had no daggone clue what he was even talking about. But he showed me what a mentoring organization was in high school, and he was the person who was giving that metaphorical hug, saying, "Hey, I know y'all, and I know
Mm,
y'all are gonna be great. And
mm.
I don't know if the people around you are telling you that or not, but I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to give you permission to be you. I'm going to teach you some things, but I'm also going to give you permission to be you."
Didn't he do that? Didn't he do that? Yes, he did. And guess what? That permission wasn't embraced right away. That permission was like, hold on, wait. You giving me permission to be me? Hold on, I gotta test this. I gotta test this. And his continual way of expressing that, yes, you are okay just like that. So stop. I don't need you to be anything else but this. Okay, here you come, trying to be something else. I see past it. Once
Mhm.
again, you are okay just like this. Matter of fact, I'm gonna have you go speak in front of everybody just to show you that you just like this. Jared, I'm gonna have you go put on a presentation. Oh, you had an idea too, didn't you? I like that idea. I need you to run with it.
That part. That part. That part. Jared, I don't need you to be Ansu, and Ansu, I don't need you to be Jared. You know what I'm saying? I need you. I need you to start to understand who you are, because someday, guess what? You're gonna have to teach these next generations how to understand who they are.
Didn't he do that? And you know what? That's why we're here talking today.
That's it. That's why we're
That's
here.
it.
You know what I mean? So look, on that note, because we can go on for days.
We can. We can.
We can go
We
on.
can.
We got
But man, and you hit on some great points today, brother. That was well needed and well. I'm glad you spoke on that. So thank you.
yeah, no, listen. We gonna continue to look at, just real conversations, man, about bettering ourselves, and dealing with topics, yes, but just bettering ourselves. You know what I'm saying? And I think that this is going to be a journey of getting to know ourselves on many
Amen.
different levels, many different levels. You know what I'm saying? And hey, this is the first of the year. So happy New Year.
Yeah.
You know what
Happy
I'm
New
saying?
Year to you, brother. Happy New Year.
You know,
It's our first podcast at the
hey man, first podcast is
ever.
2025. Yeah, we gonna get it, man. But thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Yes.
thank
Thank you.
and I'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week.
All right, bro.
All right, brother. Love you.
Love you too.